All right, it is Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. EST, and the charts are moving. We had an exciting day with Bitcoin yesterday. There's no economic announcements really happening today for any of the currencies. Not till later. There is some stuff with the Aussie dollar, so we're not going to worry too much about looking at the calendar. Today's a great day to just take a look at the charts. I think the gorilla will join us shortly. He may or may not. In the meantime, let's jump right into it. Go ahead and share the screen here. Let me get that screen prepared. I got these. When you look at the screen, sometimes you're going to see a lot of. We'll say the term gobbledygook. You got a lot of lines and a lot of math and a lot of things on there. Um, don't let that confuse you if you see it briefly. That kind of stuff is. I'm just testing a lot of things. I'm not necessarily using them. Okay, so that's one thing that a lot of people, when they look at the shows, oh man, this looks crazy. You got all this crazy stuff on your screen. And no, don't worry about that. That's just me testing things. I'm using maybe half of it. But I've been doing this a long time, and I can stare at a screen and I can look at that and, not get confused. Right? Okay, here we go. Speaking of screens, let's make this a little bigger here. And there it is. Yeah, it's Bitcoin. It did break out yesterday. I did talk about price being in a range, but also looking very bullish. And so if you look at the show yesterday and you listen to me talking about Bitcoin and what I would do with it, what I said was that as long as the algos lined up for a short, then I would short the top of this range, which is roughly was right about here, right? With the top of this block. The algos never lined up. The algos stayed long. Right? So because the algo stayed long, I went ahead. I just didn't go short. I don't like taking it long at the top of a range. It's against my rules. Good morning, Truckface. Good to have you on, sir. So that went ahead and popped up, and then I was inundated yesterday. I had some technical issues with my machine, and so I did not take this trade. But this would have been a long I could have taken once it passed this line, right? Valentine, good morning. Good to have you on. So that was a valid trade. I did get into a Solana trade, and evidently it was a good trade. It looked like it was going to be a fake out breakout, but it ended up going targets. So that was we called it the Solana not trade over in the group. But Bitcoin continues to look bullish here. Let me just throw some up here in the corner. For those of you who are watching this and you're new, you want to know more about what we do, we'll get into that later, right? I want to just go straight into the content. But there's a QR code top left screen. You look at that if you want to find out who we are. Meantime, I'm looking at Bitcoin right now, and it does look very, very bullish. Obviously, it broke out of a multi-week, you could even say a multi-month. Let me see. It broke out on the 8th of January. And it was about a month-long consolidation. And when you have price consolidate and stay in the same area for a month, that breakout can be rather energetic, right? Now, it did attempt to break out right at the beginning of the year. On January the 2nd, it tried to break out, and then it got crammed back down. It looks like it jumped down and it did a liquidity grab. And as it did that, it went back into, or I really should say it stayed in this consolidation area, and then it popped back up. And as it did pop up, it reached back down and it grabbed some liquidity from the top of this area. So that's a good sign that it may well continue to go up just based on the price action. And I've not yet looked at the algos. And before I cross your eyes looking at the crazy screen with all the squiggly lines and all that, I got the gorilla to come in and say good morning to us.
Good morning, all of you. It's the one and only gorilla. You looking at Bitcoin, man?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I love it, dude. It's up and away.
Actually, before we get too far into the into where we think Bitcoin is going to go in the near term, I got a question from Valentine. Our thoughts on Bitcoin 100K and some say 500K by 2027. If I were to answer that quickly, I'd say 100K is very likely, 500K is less likely, but anything is possible. That's how I would say that. Max Kyler, Michael Saylor. Yeah, Max Kaiser and Michael Saylor are perma bulls. They'll buy Bitcoin any time of the week. They'll buy the top. They don't care. So, of course, they're going to be very, what's the term, optimistic. So V, what do you think of that? That's 100K and 500K by 2027.
100K, like by 100K by
in a few months.
2025. Yeah, maybe a few months. 100K.
I would say not a few
slim.
months though. I think you said it right the first time, like by 2025. I don't want to say a few months because I don't. But go ahead. I'm sorry, brother.
Yeah, 100K by like 2025. I'm definitely hitting 85K this year. Then there's going to be a pullback to 65 to 70, and then we're going to see 100 in 2025. That's what we're talking about in the back rooms. In the institutional side of things, that's what we're looking at in our projection going out to 2025 with
you playing in the back rooms, man. Did you know
code
in the back rooms? No, you don't know. No, you don't know about the back rooms. So the back rooms, you don't know about the back rooms. This is a.
Oh no, what are you talking about the back door?
No, none of that. The back rooms, none of that. The back rooms is like this fear story, like this horror story that the Zoomers have, where you know code, which is where basically you just phase shift out of reality and you end up in like these. It's like this evil version of an office, like corporate building, and it's like all the walls have like a yellowish tinge to it, and the carpets are all red, or not red, they're all wet and nasty. And then you got like you run into these monsters that try to eat you, and it's like it's like some horror thing. It's called the back rooms. It's like I don't know, man. It's like an urban legend is what that's about. When you talk about the back rooms, I'm like, I gotta say that I gotta let the Zoomers who are tuning into the show know that you're not operating in the back rooms right now.
Yeah. No, I'm not operating in the back room. Do not be afraid, Zoomers. Do not be afraid. I'm not in the back room. It's okay.
Yeah, you're not in the back rooms. You're not a backroom monster. Yeah. Like you look at it, it's some silliness, dude. But whatever. I mean, every generation needs their horror stories, I guess. Yes. But yeah, I think the way you said it sounds about right. Bitcoin popping up maybe later this year towards 100K makes a lot of sense.
In terms of 500,000, yeah, nah. Yeah, nah. Yeah, I don't think you'll see 500K.
Hey, man,
not this decade. Not this decade.
I'll put it.
And when you hold on, and if you got to understand, we're at the same time with Bitcoin climbing. As the years go by 2027, maybe it does hit 500K if you coincide for devalued dollars.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. So if everything falls apart, like and your loaf of bread costs like $50, then that's what I was trying to say. Bitcoin is an inflation hedge, so it's gonna somewhat reflect the value of the dollar in that manner. That's all. So, but if everything doesn't fall apart, if even though the dollar is kind of being walked away from by the rest of the world, slowly, it's not like I don't think it's going to go away. I think the rest of the world will continue to use the dollar in whatever form it is but I think that use of the dollar is going to decrease over time. And then I think eventually the dollar itself will morph into something else. And then, ideally this happens without some kind of left the world behind stupid movie scenario, but you just don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? What I can say though, with certainty, at least a level of certainty, right, a statistical degree of certainty, is that this move up on Bitcoin. So I can look at the charts, man. I can't look at the future. We can guess the future. We can we can review the way that these charts act with the indicators that you see on the bottom of the screen right now, all those crazy lines and stuff. Now we can use that information and we can even put it together and code it so that it goes into one indicator. For example, I'll show you one that I've had coded that I created here. Give me 1 second. That's one that I had created. Now these arrows at the top and these arrows on the bottom, that's actually, little green. It's hard to see on the screen, folks, but this one I had coded. This one's my first little love right there. And once you have something coded, you can predict the future, at least the near future, to a statistical degree of probability. So you're not always going to be right, but you do a lot of testing and you know how often you're going to be right. And then you can kind of estimate whether or not you're profitable. And that's just kind of what we do at Algo Factory. But here, I could just look at the price action right now. like I said before, I can tell you this move down looks like a liquidity grab, because this area right here where price did a bit of a consolidation right there for, when is this? 1st January through the 2nd. So about a day, roughly a day, a little longer. Price stayed up in that area. And then it got crammed back down. I think it wanted to go up. And I think people thought it wanted to go up. And so they went all moon boy, and they took their longs, and a lot of liquidity, I'm guessing, built up down here. And so the market makers shoved price back down there to grab that liquidity and knock it out of the market. So we do talk a lot about liquidity in here. And one thing to understand is that liquidity exists in the leveraged market. So there's a video that I made, I think it was late last week. It's called Trading for Beginners. It's on the YouTube channel, and it's all up on Twitter pinned. If you're ever on Twitter, or X as it were, on the Algo Cowboy channel, you will see the pinned video is Trading for Beginners. And I do discuss what leverage is. Now, leverage is something that's dangerous, and trading itself is inherently risky. And of course, we don't give investment advice or anything like that. But I would say if you're going to advance in trading, you're going to become an experienced trader, you'll probably end up using leverage at some point. And so we discuss what leverage is and what derivatives are. We don't really get too far into it, but we just figure you should understand the basics of it. And when there is liquidity, when there are leveraged trades that are going to either, like, they're going to liquidate at a certain point, right? And again, I'm not going to explain that here and now. Go watch the video. But you'll find that those liquidations tend to occur where a lot of trades happened before, like here, right? They also tend to occur where there might be like some stop losses, like here. So let's just say that, let's go back in time. We'll use the replay function, right? We're going to pretend that we are back in time, like Marty McFly right here. All right. Now let's say that price started to go up. So we'll do this frame by frame. I'm gonna hit this play button on the bottom here, candle by candle. Right. So price starts to go up. And let's say that I'm playing a consolidation breakout. So I'm going to expand the screen a little bit and zoom in so you guys can see, you guys and gals can see how I might play this, right? Now this box up here, we didn't know that that was there yet. So I'm going to take it off. We're just looking at as if it were, what is this? January 1st at 5 a.m. my time. So, and I'm going to hit this play button and you're going to see a consolidation breakout. There it is. So I might choose to take a long at this point, right? Perhaps right as it breaks out. Perhaps if I was able to get to it quickly and if my algorithm said I could, right? If my rules were not broken. And perhaps I decided to go long right here. And I thought that perhaps price would go up to 48,000 because that's an area we've talked about on this show, an area of interest at 48,000. We talk about this area for like weeks. So I said, okay, man, I think price is going to go up to 48,000. I'm going to take this trade. And it's a beautiful trade, 4-to-1. I might even have my stop loss down here to be super safe, right? That's a big trade. So now what's happened is, let's just say I was playing in the leverage market and I probably would have my stop loss down in here, or I would even use the certain amount of leverage to where it might liquidate in this area because I'm trying to maximize my leverage, right? That happens a lot. So price goes up. Beautiful trade. Hey, maybe I even take some profit off, who knows, right? But I'm still, thinking price is going to come up to 48,000. What happens? Well, my stop loss is down here and everybody's stop loss is down here, right? It's everybody trades in a similar fashion. And there's a lot of liquidity built up from all this price action down here too. There's probably people who went long right as it broke out and they have a tight stop loss because they think they become a millionaire because they don't know what they're doing. Or, maybe they do know what they're doing and their algo just says they could, I don't want to bang on people for having tight stops. That's fine. But they're going to get knocked out right here. Bam. Right. Anybody at that point who, too many people probably went long and that liquidity was left down here in the form of stop losses, in the form of liquidations. And let me tell you, the big boys, in fact, not just the big boys, you and me with crypto have this data. If you want to trade stock markets and you want to know what this data is, you got to pay 25,000 for a Bloomberg terminal. Like, who's got 25,000 now? I mean, maybe we do, but the average, trader is not going to have 25,000 a month to just spend on a Bloomberg terminal. That's extremely rare, right? I don't do that. And, excuse me. I'm in groups of people who can afford such things, but it's just not, I don't find it necessary at this point. What I will say is that the data is available in crypto to know that this can happen, right? So now there is a link if you look at the description, and it's for the Kingfisher. And the Kingfisher is an amazing, they don't pay me anything. If you use that link, then it's just going to give me like free service with Kingfisher. But I'm going to go to the kingfisher.io, and we're going to take a look at the current liquidity, not the liquidity I could pull up a historical chart. I could do that. But I'm going to look at the current liquidity because that's going to be more useful to us. So we got Bitcoin, all leverage. We're going to spin it to win it. So you can use this for free, by the way. You can spin, see if you can win credits, right? Now, it's only going to give you minimal functionality, right? To spin this and use the credits and all that, right? So I'm going to spin this later, but I just want to show you that. In the meantime, I'm going to get a liquidity map for Bitcoin, right? So there's a lot of liquidity down below. And usually when you see this, that means price is going to eventually make its way down here. But in my experience, and this is my experience that I have tested, you're probably not going to see that until the charts favor a move down. And right now things are so bullish that I would not be depending on these targets. I would be looking to the upside, right? Because the charts just don't favor a move down. Everything is so incredibly bullish. There's a lot of talk about ETF. And I do think that when the ETF happens, price is going to go up. How long will it go up for? I do not know. No one knows. I think it might be temporary. I think it might not be. I think there's a lot of spotlight on Bitcoin ETF. And that makes me wonder, is it just going to rocket up, or is it going to be a sell the news event? And there's not a way to know that because nobody knows the future except for maybe your, muckety muck billionaire people. I got a question from Valentine. We'll get back to this chart. We'll get back to this liquidity in a moment. We're going to answer Valentine's question. And by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube in the public live lab, that first 30 minutes, we will answer your questions in the chat. You don't have to be a member of Algo Factory, but after this half hour is up, we move over to the private live lab over in our private group, and it's our members only, right? And during this the public live lab, our members have priority. So on that example, asks Valentine, could you explain how to recognize at what point your stop loss is in profit? You are not a risk for loss. Confused on determining that. Okay, I think I understand that question. So we have liquidity nodes right now close by at 47.3, at 48.850. So we'll mark those out. 47.3. Let's get out of our example here. Go back to the present. Okay, so we got above price, right? People who've gone short, and they have their stop losses at 47.3. So right about here. And 48.850. It's way up here. Okay, so what's going on here is that for the moment, people are short, and the people who are short have stop losses, or actually in reality, it's liquidations. So you have people with like a lot of leverage, or whatever the situation is. And I bet you there's probably stop losses factored into it. That's what I don't know about Kingfisher, but I do know these liquidity nodes work. So there's a good chance, as long as the charts favor a move up, which I'm going to look at here in a minute, and then we'll get to Valentine's question, right? So for now, those are if I were long, I might consider taking some profit off here. I might. Let's see what the algo says. I'm going to cross your guys' and gals' eyes for a minute. So bear with me while I get all the crazy panels on the screen. All I can say right now is just bullish, bullish, bullish. That's what it looks like to me. Let's get this screen where it needs to be. Yeah, everything just looks really bullish right now. I would expect those upside targets to get hit. So Valentine, let me reread this question, and let me get rid of this the crazy stuff on the screen. Valentine is asking, on that example, could you explain how to recognize at what point your stop loss is in profit. Well, your stop loss is your stop loss, right? So it's not that if your stop loss is moved into profit, it's because you put it there. Okay, so we'll just create a fresh example. Okay, so let's, excuse me, sorry about that. We're gonna pretend that we went long. Let me maximize this and stretch it out and make it look good, okay? So we're gonna pretend that we went long right here on this breakout, okay? And then we have our stop loss, like say down below this wick, and our take profit's gonna be up here, just as an example, right? So if you went long right there, right, your stop loss starts out, we just use this long box, this green and blue. That's just a tool that we use, but you're going to choose your stop loss, and you're probably going to choose it to be somewhat below a recent low. And if you can see it on the screen, that blue candle, which is a bullish candle for me, that wick went down before price went up. So there's a bit of a shakeout. People who were long and their stop losses were tight, they got knocked out. But this low is a decent place to put your stop loss below. Maybe you have a formula for that using fibs. Maybe you use ATRs, whatever your method, right? So as that happens, if I'm going to go long on the breakout, right, then I'm going to have a stop loss below that low. This was the low right here. So my stop loss will be below that down here, right? Now, as price goes into profit, I actually have a formula in my algo that tells me to move my stop loss up into profit. So how can I tell that my stop loss is in profit? Because I put it there, right? So at that point, once my algo tells me I can, my stop loss I'll no longer have any risk on this trade, and my stop loss will be all the way, say, up to here, right? Price came up, broke down, broke back up. That's one kind of simple way to do it. I'm not saying that's how I do it, but that is a simple way to do it. And I have moved my stop loss all the way up to here. So that's how I know it's in profit, is because I put it there. So what is a methodology for determining I think the question Valentine's really asking, if I'm understanding properly here, is how do you decide where to put your stop loss in profit? How do you know to move it up into profit? Or at least to put it at where you entered so that you don't lose any money if you stop out. Or you can put it in a profit, so if you stop out, you actually stop out without losing any money, right? We call that, I like to call that permanent profit. So even in the worst case, if the price goes down outside of a few very odd scenarios, then I will stop out while I'm in profit. And I do that algorithmically, right? So I use the algos, I use the indicators that I have put together in my algo to make a determination as to, okay, XYZ happened in my algo. Now I can move my stop loss up in a profit. And the area that I move it up in a profit is also part of an algo. So it's just using the indicators, Valentine. I'm not sure if I answer the question, because the way that you worded it makes me concerned that maybe I did not understand your question. But I'm answering your question as I understand it, so I hope that helps. We could take a little more time in the private lab if I did not answer that question for you. Cool Cat says, Kramer says BTC's topping out. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. It's because here's the thing about it. First of all, that's a buy signal.
That's a buy signal.
That's a buy signal. I mean, it's I'm not saying buy. I'm just saying Jim Cramer. Actually, I give him a hard time, but in reality, he's not as bad as we all say he is. He gets a lot of things.
No,
right,
he's worse. He's worse.
No, they've gone back to look at his numbers. He's actually not as bad, but he's not that good. I'm not going to trade based on what he says.
He's a joke.
He's
a joke. Have a TV show telling people to buy.
He's literally a joke in the trading world. Like literally a joke. Like we use. Like I just said it right now. He said buy. I'm like, that's a sell signal. Like it's kind of not a joke. Like they actually have an inverse Kramer ETF. I don't know how I don't know how profitable it is. I think a guy like him on TV's got to win sometimes, and I think he actually technically is profitable. But oh man, I would not trade based on what he says. I think Bitcoin is going to eclipse 48 here. We talked about this before. We've been talking about 48 for a while. And I think that Bitcoin's actually going to do better than that in the near term. In fact, just to look at the liquidity nodes, I don't know that it's going to go all the way up here to these nodes, but we got some heavy-ish, not as heavy as to the downside. We got some decent nodes up at 52.5, up at 53.5, 53.7, 53,700. So those are decent targets to look at. Now, 48,000 does have some kind of old, if you look back, I'm talking about years. I want to say 2021. So let's go to the weekly chart while I do the crazy screen here. Look, one thing to watch is that price came up back in 2022, right around the time of the Russian, you could call it special military operation, invasion, whatever your word. And right around that time, Bitcoin tried to rally up and knocked its head right on 48.5. Right. So that's where price basically is right now. That's why a lot of people think perhaps it might not go much farther than that. But I'm telling you right now, the algos are bullish. So I wouldn't short Bitcoin right now. Not right now. Nope. I was thinking about shorting the top of that range and I said nope. And I'm glad that I did say no. And I wish I had my computer working properly at the time. I have 2 computers. I guess I could have turned on the other one, but I was deep in it yesterday with the video I was trying to make, and it still came out with a glitch or 2. Sorry, folks, about the glitch. It's all right. The video's still good. The info's still there. But the point, I did a good video on ESG and Blackrock yesterday, V.
Oh, nice.
There's only so much you can say. I had a 30-minute video. My consultant's like, you can't say that on YouTube. They'll demonetize you. I'm like, ah, damn it. I had to go back and do stuff, but it's working until 8 o'clock last night when I was done really at 5. But the point here, back on the charts, is 52,000 is a number I'd be watching, right? There's liquidity just above that, so I'd say really like 53. But here's the thing: once you cross 53,000, like anything can happen. And remember, we got the ETF coming out any day, and we analyzed the gold, the GLD. And for the first, I think it was like the first 3 weeks, it went up. Now it went up only a few percent. But how many eyes were on the gold ETF? Not very many. You don't have an entire generation of new traders looking at GLD coming out. It was a big event. And once GLD came out and once it marinated for about a year, then gold really took off. So, this could be the beginning of a new super cycle, maybe. But there's not a lot of data points. There's one data point we can look at, which is gold. That's not a lot. So it's really an unknown thing as to what can happen when this ETF comes out. But I always kind of get a little contrarian on these big events. And I think perhaps there's going to be price going up and then maybe they'll wash out. But the washout, meaning the price going down to wash out a lot of leverage, that could be quick. That might just be quick and then go back up. So anyway, there's a lot of talk around that. I could even do a whole show on that. But for now, I got my eye on like the low 50s right now. That's what I got my eye on right now. Gorilla, can you, if you want to, please weigh in, because you are historically very accurate with your macro Bitcoin predictions, as you are with most predictions. And then please give us the send off and get us over into the private lab.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you want me to talk about?
Oh, just, where you think Bitcoin's going to go in the next, I don't know. Let's just say we don't get the ETF announcement, right? Where do you think Bitcoin's going to go and run into some trouble?
All right. Right now it's trading at what, 46?
Yeah, 47.
Okay.
46.8.
Okay. If we breach 48, okay, that's a critical point for a lot of institutions. They're running that whole 3-8 algo. If it passes the 8, like 48,000, then it's on the march to 53. Okay. On the march to 53, it could probably hit 51 and then pull back a little bit. But then if it eclipses 53, then you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to run to 58 and then to 60. The point that I'm trying to make is this: at this stage of the game, the institutions are in. It's very highly unlikely that a Bitcoin ETF will not be announced. And one of the things I predicted going into the new year, even before that, months and months ago, was there was an 80% chance of the Bitcoin ETF being approved before the end of the year. And if not, it will definitely happen between January and March. We are in that time frame right now, between January and March, and it's definitely going to happen. If it doesn't happen, You could expect Bitcoin to go to 53 and probably 58,000. I feel very comfortable at 58,000 by April, and between the April and June time frame. 58,000 is a very comfortable spot to be in. That is if it does not have a ETF announcement. If an ETF announcement goes through, then in the April-June time frame, I'm looking at 63,000, possibly even 68,000. Definitely it's going to beat its all-time high, So that's what it's looking like. And I can expect it to beat its all-time high, probably definitely towards the June area. Yeah.
Well, there you have it from the gorilla himself, who has been extremely accurate with crypto and Bitcoin over the years. I've been following V since 2016, and I like to say, and this is let me tell you right now, when I say the following statistics, I mean it's just kind of like in my mind, but it's rare when you have somebody who is at least 80% on the money with the number 80% of the time. You're not going to find that out there. The gorilla knows what he's talking about. So yeah, man, get us out of here. Let's go on to the private.
Absolutely. All right, guys, listen, don't hesitate. It's 2024. Let's put thought into action. Let's make it happen for all you guys. Let's make some money this year. Let's take advantage of the turmoil. Let's take advantage of the chaos year. It doesn't matter if the Republicans or the Democrats, how they battle it out this year. All that matters is your bottom line taken care of. Is there money in your bank account? If not, let Algo Factory help you. Join us for less than the price of a bottle of water. That is $1.66 per day. You can join us. Make it happen for yourself. AlgoFactory.tech. Cowboy, let's go private.